Special call meeting of the Bluff City Board of Mayor and Aldermen to order. Tuesday, February the 11th, 2020, 6 p.m. Welcome each of you here tonight. Thank you for coming out. Anyone wanting to comment has 3 minutes in the first session and 3 minutes in the second session. Come to the podium, give your name, address, and phone number. Citizen comments. Board members do not have to comment during comment session unless they want to. Board members, raise your hand to be recognized. This will eliminate interruptions. No talking during the meeting. If you want to talk while the meeting is going on, you must go outside or to the hallway. Others want to be able to hear. You can be asked to leave if you are out of order. Once the business session starts, you will not be able to interrupt. You will need to wait until your second session. If you have a request for information, you must come to the office at City Hall during office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, and fill out the proper papers. Okay. Call to order. Roll call. Sharon Green.
Alderwoman Keith. Here. Alderman Wall.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harrington.
Here.
Alderman Ward.
Here he comes. Yeah, here he comes.
Alderman Ward.
Here.
Alderman Bowling.
Here.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a prayer by Alderman Jeff Broers, and immediately following, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Will you pray with me this evening? Lord God, thank you for this day and this assembly. I'm excited to be here, Lord. I'm excited to see the town family out here participating with us. But I must plead today that we need your help and guidance. We have so many big things to do as a board and as citizens, and we face so many situations. And we're not able without your help. And I'm asking for that today.
Yes, sir.
Lord God, let us have the clarity of thought, clarity of speech and mind and action to be able to perform best for the town and our family. Lastly, and most importantly, Lord, I ask that you forgive us where we failed you today. All this I ask in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, discussion and action. Present audit report, Rutherford Moss and Company, Curtis Morrison.
Get me up here and get me out of here. I see how it is.
Oh, no, you can stay to the end.
Anyway, as she said, I'm Curtis Morrison. I'm with Rutherford Moss. We have been doing the audit now, I think, 3 or 4 years. Glad to present to you that some unmodified opinions, which is the cleanest opinion I can give. I'm not going to bore you by going to every line item and going through everything, but I did want to hit a few highlights just to kind of give you an idea of what's in here and what's went on, and I've got a couple things I want to kind of point out just to kind of help you along the way. Speaking of my opinion, it begins on page 1. Excuse me, that is the mayor's letter. My opinion begins on page, it's unnumbered, I apologize, 4. And if I were going to read just a few pages rather than the 70-something that are in here, I would focus on management's discussion and analysis, which begins on page 6. It's a real good summary year over year. It'll give you the prior year numbers in a summarized form and the current year numbers, and you'll see the changes, and then there's some verbiage to kind of explain some things that went on. But I just felt like if you're only going to do a few pages, that's the way I would go. Now, if you really get bored or insomnia and you can't go to sleep, then slip back into the notes and look at some of those OPEB numbers and stuff like that, and you'll go right to sleep, I promise. Anyway, I just wanted to point out, when it was all said and done on your government-wide, there was a $266,000 increase in net position. And again, I think I've explained, might be a new board member or two, can't remember. But the government-wide, you look at that more like a business. That means all of your infrastructure, your fixed assets are put into that. So that's looking at it as a whole. What you're used to seeing in your monthly reports is what's called a fund balance. And that's more on a fund structure. You know, when you buy a piece of equipment, it's expensed on that, but on the government-wide, it's an asset. So that's really the kind of big differences. So I kind of wanted to point that out. So on the government-wide, you had a net increase of $266,000. For fund balances, you also had an increase. And I'm going to flip you over to that real quick. My pages. It's on page 23. And this is the format which you are used to seeing for the proprietary funds. That's where 23 is. I wanted to get to that first. If you look at the water sewer utility fund, you will see a change in net position of $57,000 loss. And I wanted to kind of give you an idea of why that loss is. Okay, there was a lawsuit settled, so that's booked in here. And also there were a lot of additional water purchases because the plant was down, wasn't running. So that's why you're getting into the loss here. And I wanted to kind of point that out, and it's something that the mayor will, be able to explain to the state, and so that they don't, nowadays if you have 1 year of losses, they go, oh, it's a problem. I think we can explain it. I don't think anything will need to be done. I think without those two things happening, there wouldn't have been a loss, and I think you would be fully justified in the state not coming in and go, oh, we got to raise rates. So that is just for your benefit, so you knew what happened there, so we can look at that. But anyway, that's the big thing on the water sewer. Now, if you look at page 21 on the actual general fund itself, it was a change in fund balance of $223,000 roughly, and that's an increase. And as I've always said, that's not profit. That right there lets you do a few extra things over time. If you're going in the negative every year, you're not going to be able to do anything extra. You're going to be going, and you're going to get in bad shape. So I think this is healthy. If you had $5 million here, we'd have a problem. I think citizens would have a problem. But $223,000, given where you're at, makes total sense, and I think is reasonable. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of explain that for those who aren't used to how governments work. Now, I know what everybody always wants to know, and so I'm really going to skip. It's basically all the way to the back, and it's in the compliance reports. As part of an audit, we test certain aspects of laws and regulations to make sure that you're following them. We also look at your internal controls to make sure that they're adequate and they're doing what they're supposed to do. If we find a compliance issue or if we find some internal controls we feel like need to be addressed, you will get findings. And we have some. But I thought I'd kind of touch base so you kind of know what they are and how they affect you and why they come about. So the first one you're going to see is called a retainage account. When you do construction contracts in the state of Tennessee, if you have retainage on a construction contract, you're required by law to set up a bank account that earns interest for any of the retainage that you would owe the contractor. Not many people know that, and trust me, that gets missed a lot. You don't do a lot of construction projects, but it was missed. But I thought you should know that's all that is. It's not that you didn't pay, so it's that it should have had its own bank account earning interest. That's what that really comes down to. And finding number 2, and this is also related to the construction, and it is failure to record some payables. Construction contracts are not your normal payables. If you get normal payables and it's dated June the 30th, you're like, okay, I know to record that at June 30th. Construction payables, they come in a month or two late, but they're really for the period of June 30th, and that really causes confusion, and so that was overlooked. We caught that, and that was $320,000 if memory serves. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's easy to miss. And I wish I could say that this has never happened before, but it's probably out of the 15 governments I've done this past year, it's probably the 12th that had the exact same finding. So it's not unusual because it's not something that she's going to see every day. So I just wanted to let you know we understand it happens. And cash management, we mentioned this, I think, in the last couple of years, separate cash drawers and stuff like that, which was addressed in May of 19, which gave us, I think, 11 months out of 12 where it was an issue. So that's why it's a repeat finding. But I do not expect that to be a finding next year. So that's already been addressed. And this is one that kind of depends on the board. The last one, number 4, is bad debt. We highly encourage whenever, especially in the water sewer fund, people have moved on or no longer in the area, or they have passed away, and there's a good chance that most of your older receivables will not be paid at all. She can't write it off without your approval. And there's a good reason for that, is to make sure that you know and you're aware of why it's being written off, what amount's been written off, and what's being done with that. And so, as you look over, I would highly encourage you all to think about it and look and approve writing off all the old balances that have been there for years, just so she can get this off her books, because it's items that you're just simply not going to collect. The good news is it will not affect your income or expense, because it has been accounted for in the years. So you've already taken the loss on that for many years. It's just a matter of cleaning up the books and records just so that that doesn't hang around. So I just wanted to point out that's what those are, and those are all the big ones. And I wouldn't say any of those are big at all. And Sharon has put together her corrective action report that's now required for the state, that she has to put together to say how it's going to be fixed, and you can see how she plans on addressing or has addressed. And but she'll need your help on that last one. That's why I wanted to bring it specifically to your attention. Does anybody have any questions? I know that we could go through every number if you wanted to, but I'd be crying myself. One other thing I would point out, if you look through here, there are a couple of new schedules due to new GASB pronouncements. The main one being when it comes to bonds and notes payable, there's a whole new schedule in here. And like I said, if you get really bored, it's the same information you've always had. It's just in a nice, pretty schedule now, because the state wanted it that way. And in that, you'll see that you have to put in there what the collateral is, which most of them are general obligation, just everything. But if you were to buy a specific piece of equipment, that would be listed. But that's all that's on that schedule. Just thought since it's new, I'd point that out. So.
Does any of y'all have any questions?
No, very thorough brief. Thank you. Yeah, I read over it today. It's excellent work.
Thank you.
Now, we could have had it a little bit earlier, but I was mentioning to Mr. Harrington there that our network decided not to cooperate in December. It went on vacation when everybody else did, and your particular file corrupted for 3 weeks in a row. And finally, we figured out what the problem was. So, and I told my tech guys, I said, I'm not redoing this from scratch. I said, this is 200 hours worth of work. I can't do that.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the financial statement?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Oh,
second.
wait a minute.
Wait a
She's
minute.
got something else she wants to add.
Vice Mayor, you make the motion.
Yep.
Eric. Alderwoman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Royal.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington.
Yes.
Alderman Ward.
Yes.
Alderman Bowden.
Yes.
We're down to citizens' comments, the first session. 3 minutes, give name, address, and phone number. Come to the podium. If you have any. If you want to make a comment. If not, we'll move on.
Is the comment?
I just got a few questions real quick. Brian Hunt, 191 Lakeview Drive. City have a licensed water plant operator on the payroll as of now?
We have one that's working with us, and the state knows all about it.
Okay. All right. Let's see, when my water sample was presented at the last meeting, why was it not given to the water plant operator? Hurry, I only got 3 minutes.
Whenever they've taken samples, they need to come on site and get the actual sample.
So it was not given to the water plant operator as requested?
Alan, did you? No, she wasn't here.
Okay. Gotcha. And you're doing a great job, Alan, by the way. Now this is directed towards you. When the engineering firm that was hired to do the water lines and sewer lines, was all work permitted to be done as they designed and directed? Or did the city have any influence on things that were to be altered?
What'd you say?
Ma'am, if I'm going to stand up here, please pay attention. I said, when the engineering firm that was hired to do the work and design the water lines and sewer, was their work done as they designed, or did the city have any influence in any altering?
If anything was changed, then it went through the engineers.
Okay. Are there separate tools designed for water and sewer operations?
Yes.
There are. Okay. How old is the current water line supplying Lakeview Drive?
This meeting is a special call meeting, and it's actually for the agendas, that the items that's on the agenda.
Right. This is my time for citizens' comments. Do you know how old the current water line is?
Not right off.
Okay. Alderman, I feel sorry for you. You got a tough row ahead of you. You really do. This is not a dictatorship, okay? And by neglect and carelessness, reckless endangerment is being committed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One moment. Mr. Hunt, when you said, Alderman, you feel sorry for us, is that what you said?
Yes.
Don't feel sorry for me, because I stand for what's right. I will speak up, stand up for the citizens for what is right. So please do not put me in the same category.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paul Fry, correct me if I'm wrong. Are
But I
citizens'
think I proved
comments
myself.
supposed to be directly with the special call meeting agenda? Any comments?
No, any comments from the board
Any
would be.
comments,
from us.
anything
Any
you want.
comments from the board.
This is
That's
their
what I was
time.
making sure. I just cleared up. I'm just making sure.
You have a right to ask if you have
Right. Well,
questions.
I respect that because they have a right
Thank you.
to ask
Thank
questions.
That's
you.
my question. Let's move on.
Yes. Okay, the next,
But right.
we have enough discussion action, special.
I got a question.
Oh,
David
okay,
Mark, too.
go ahead.
I was talking to you earlier about that. A crossing guard at Tennessee Avenue. The school buses are going that way now.
Yes.
We need to have one, and we discussed this when I was on the board, if you remember correctly. And I know you wanted one.
Yes.
You probably do too. Is there anything y'all can do about that? I think that's dangerous. I worked on the railroad years ago. Wish I hadn't quit, but anyway,
They did.
they help. They help.
They did their study during the summer when there was no much traffic. Whenever they did the study. Instead
The
of-
Norfolk and Southern.
Yes, instead of doing it during the school year where people.
Is it possible, or practical for one of you guys to call them and ask them, Mayor?
I can call. They got a little bit upset with us because we had decided to close where the the church is,
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know that
Tennessee,
either.
and so after that they wasn't as understanding. But I can call back and talk to them and see if they will review it.
Wonder if T-Dot will help us or somebody up the line. You know what I'm saying? I just, I see them driving up through there, and I'm school bus drivers. Some of them as old as me, And I ran in front of a train there in front of Ray's. I was watching his little boy about run in front of a train.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, I will talk to them and see if they will reconsider coming and reviewing it, and let them know that the school children are going using that crossing.
okay. Well,
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody else? If it is, come to the podium and give your name, address, and phone number. If not, we'll move on to discussion action, special call meeting minutes of December 23rd, 2019. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, take a vote, please, Sharon.
Alderwoman Key,
Yes.
Alderman Walls,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Bowling.
I wasn't here. I was in the hospital at that time, so I abstained.
Okay, discussion and action, first reading on ordinance number 2020-001. Mr. Fry.
An ordinance amending Bluff City Municipal Code, Section 1-102, dealing with the order of business of the Board of Mayor and Alderman meetings. What has changed here, there's one section of citizen comments at the beginning for 5 minutes, and the clerk and the city recorder, being the timekeeper, has been stricken from the ordinance.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, Mayor.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Take a vote, please.
Alderwoman Key,
They had 6 minutes, now they got 5. I say no, because the citizens need to be able to speak up.
Alderman Walls,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Bowling.
No,
Okay. Let's see, we have a two. Okay. We'll move on to the next one, discussion and action. First reading on ordinance number 2020-002, an ordinance amending Title 8 of the Bluff City Municipal Code dealing with alcohol beverages. Mr. Fry.
What this does is changes the definition of beer under our ordinance to that of the state definition, which is changed, and it allows for on-premises permits.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, Mayor.
I'll second that motion.
Take a vote, please, Sharon.
Alderwoman Key,
Abstain.
Alderman Walls,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Bowling.
yes,
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is discussion and action to approve $4,000 to complete the smoke testing for the city. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Take a vote, please.
Who second?
Ray?
Alderwoman Key,
Yes.
Alderman Walls,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Bowling.
Yes,
Okay.
How soon can we start that?
Do it somewhere. We have to ease up. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is citizens' comments, second session, 3 minutes. Give name, address, and phone number. Come to the podium.
Hi, my name is Sandra Madison. I live at 312 Bluff City. All I've got to say, Alderman Keith, you stand. Don't let nobody run over you.
You know I won't.
Does anyone else have a comment? If not, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, if it's okay, I would like to ask you something. I got a phone call right before I came here where a citizen, they don't bother anybody, and they live out of corporation, and they have gotten a citation. So, I mean, Chief, you probably could answer that question better than any of us. This family that lives out of corporation, and they got a citation. Somebody, I don't know who it is, riding up down the road, looked at people's yard or something and reported that their yard was messy or whatever. Anyway, she's got a citation, and they don't even live in the city.
I'll have to look into that.
Would you please check into that? Yes. And I say that to say this. She stood up and spoke up for what is right. And no sooner than she stood up, because it was placed on Facebook, then it's like things started happening to that family. That's unacceptable.
I'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone else have a comment? If not, can I have a motion to approve? Adjourn. I'm sorry. To
Make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Take a vote, please.
Alderwoman Key,
Yes.
Alderman Walls,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Bowles.
Yes.